Hello my lovely people, it's Grace and today we are going to be installing this Fender Delete. Now as you can see, this bike already has an aftermarket Fender Delete on it, but I have managed to destroy the light by backflipping the bike in the jungle, so we are going to replace it and we are going to show you today how to install the TEP brand Fender Delete. Now here's a close-up of the TEP Fender Delete, which you can buy from KLXparts.com. It's a super compact little piece of equipment. You have integrated turn signals inside that main light. That's why you have 5 wires here. Now your yellow or brown ones are going to be your indicators. Then you have the tail light, you have the brake light, and you have your earth. Installation is nice and simple. You've just got 4 bolts which go into the subframe, and then you connect up the wires and you're good to go. Now first things first, we're going to remove the plastics and we're going to remove the seat to expose the subframe. This is a matter of just removing a couple of bolts. On the left hand side of the bike, you're also going to need the key to take off that left side panel, and there's also a plastic clip at the front left of that panel, so just be a little bit gentle as you undo that clip. Now this is what we're aiming for, the exposed subframe. Now if you have the stock Fender still, things are going to look slightly different, but you can see what matters here, which is the attachment points on your subframe. So undo your stock Fender or whatever Fender or Fender Delete you have in place, and we'll get to installing the TEP Fender Delete. You'll find that you need to use a small screwdriver to lift the tab so that you can unplug those indicators as well. Keep those plugs because we'll be using them. And for the moment, we're just going to ignore how dirty my bike is. So here we have our new Fender Delete by TEP. And as you can see, there are just 4 bolt holes there. So we're going to slide it into place on the underside of the subframe, and we're going to chuck those bolts in and do them up. Now you might want to use a little bit of Loctite if you're worried about these bolts rattling out as you ride around the jungle. Blue Loctite would do the trick just fine. Now at this point I have to tell you that I've decided not to fully install this new Fender Delete on my bike because it's too nice, and basically I'm just going to smash it again, backflipping my bike in the jungle like I did with the last one. So this is just for demonstration purposes. One thing you'll see is that the Fender Delete does not interfere with the stock indicator mounts at all. So if your jurisdiction doesn't allow for integrated indicators to be legally compliant, and you are worried about keeping your bike road legal, you can run the stock indicators as well in conjunction with this Fender Delete. It just means that you're going to need to splice those indicator wires together, so you'll have the yellow wire for the integrated indicator and you'll have the wires from your stock indicator. Just splice those together before the plug. So now it's time to do the wiring. Now you'll see there's a bundle of 3 main wires. That's your earth, your brake light, and your tail light. And that goes into that big plug you can see. And then we have the 2 yellow or brown wires. Those are your indicators. They go into those small plugs. Now we're going to need to reuse the plugs off the old Fender or Fender Delete. In fact, you can see that I already did this one time before, the first time that I changed out the Fender Delete on this bike. Now I don't recommend that you actually pull any wires out of the plug. What I recommend you do is that you cut those wires just before they go into the plug, and you solder your wires from the new Fender Delete into those existing wires. Now the wires are color coded to make your life easier, so you're going to match black to black, red to red, and green or blue goes to stock blue. Your indicators will be yellow or brown. And that's about it. Now I'm not going to show you how to solder because I'm sure there's 1,000 YouTube videos for that and you probably already know how to do it. So solder up those wires, wrap with electrical tape or heat shrink, and plug them in. Check to make sure that you've got your right and left indicators plugged into the correct plugs before you reassemble the bike and put the seat back on. And this is what the finished job should look like. Thanks for listening and enjoy your KLX230.